Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. This is Under Review. Today we're going to be looking at Jackie Haley's Freddy Krueger in A Nightmare on Elm Street. This came out in 2010, and I kind of want to dissect this and actually look at this and decide, was this movie as bad as the critics said it was? Not even the critics, the fans. And honestly, I think with A Nightmare on Elm Street, I think the fans and critics were a bit too critical of this film because they tore it apart. And Jackie Haley, I think he did an amazing Freddy Krueger for what he was given. Nobody's ever going to fill Robert Englund's shoes. And I think Jackie Haley did the best he could. And he played a great Freddy Krueger, in my opinion. If you don't know who Jackie Haley is, he played Rorschach in the Watchmen movie. And I thought he did an amazing job. I'm not going to lie. I think the critics were just too harsh on him. Everybody compared him to Robert Englund, but this isn't Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger. This is his own version of Freddy Krueger, and I think he did a great job. The voice he did in this movie was amazing. It was very rough and very harsh. I liked how foul he was, how his language was very dark. He was a darker version. Everybody liked Robert Englund's jokey, funny humor, but I thought he brought a whole different kind of Freddy Krueger to the big screen. And I think if you're going to redo a classic like the Freddy Krueger movies, you have to do something new. You have to bring something different, and that's exactly what he did. And I don't think he could have done any better. I think that everybody was just too harsh. And everybody tore this film apart, but it was a great Freddy Krueger film. From the very opening scene where it did the wide-angle lens view of the diner in the rain, and just the lighting alone, the lighting was done so amazing. This film was very beautiful. It was beautifully shot. The acting was top-notch. I did not think there was one bad actor in this whole entire film. It was just... It was an impossible feat for these people to please the fans, because Freddy Krueger fans, they're not to be messed with. They are very diehard Robert Englund fans. And I don't know if they'll ever make another movie like this, because everybody wanted Robert Englund to play Freddy again. But I liked seeing something new. I liked seeing something fresh, but it also kind of stuck to the same original story. It gave it a darker side. It focused more on Freddy Krueger being a creep and pedophile. The original movie kind of hinted at that stuff. It kind of hinted that he maybe molested these kids or like inappropriately, handled these kids. But in this movie, it doesn't like sidestep around it. It basically like, as you're watching the film and it unravels and the story unlocks and unfolds, you realize what a real creep Freddy was when he was alive, when he was still a human living in this world. He was not a good man. And I like that they gave it a darker feel. This whole movie just had this overshadow of evil. It just kind of like was an evil Freddy. It wasn't this comic, mischiefy little, nightmare and demon. This one kind of seems like he's straight from hell. And there's even a scene where like one of the victims is like in Freddy's world looking at his dead friends, and he even says, he's like, "Oh my God," and Freddy comes up behind him and he's like,
"Oh God, no, just me."
Like that was a dark scene. It was very, very edgy. I thought the deaths in this movie were, they were pretty quick, but they were very harsh. They were very violent. Like the very first murder in the movie was really hard for me to watch, and I can watch some, violent stuff. And it was hard for me to watch because it was the sounds they used. Like he ends up slitting his throat, Freddy makes this kid grab a knife and slit his own throat. The kid's name's Dean in the movie, and like when Dean slits his throat, it's not like most movies where it's a quick slash and you hear some blood spray. You could hear it ripping through bones and cartilage through his throat, and you don't see that in movies. And it was very realistic. It was a very realistic throat cut because it was just crunching and popping and you could hear it tearing through the tendons.
Dean. Dean, stop!
That was pretty dark. It really set the tone for the whole entire movie. It was letting you know this is not going to be child's play. This is Freddy fucking Krueger. I liked in this film too how the kids don't remember Freddy. They don't remember him growing up, and slowly as their friends are dying, they're kind of remembering bits and pieces of their past, and their parents always seem to be hiding it from their kids. And the kids kind of like over time kind of start figuring out, like, you know, they realize they went to this school, this preschool, and they all thought that they met each other later in life, but there's scenes where like they're at a funeral and one of the girls sees herself in a photo of when her friends died and realizes like she was a little girl in that and was like, I thought I didn't meet him till later in life. So it's like they all kind of have this like amnesia, but it's not even so much amnesia. I think what they were going for was like, it was like memory suppression, because something so violent happened to all of them that they all suppressed their memories because they were so young. And they slowly start discovering what Freddy Krueger did to them growing up. I think this film was just too underrated. It was an amazing Freddy Krueger movie in its own right. It had its own story, kept the same feel of the original, and added its own little flair, its own darkness. And I love dark, violent, seedy, ominous. I just love really gritty horror movies, and this was one of them. This is one that, like, whether they make another one or not, it's always going to be one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite remakes of a horror film. Friday the 13th was another great one. I thought, just like this one, it's like the fans held too much, I don't know what you want to call it. The fans just held so much love for the originals that they would not accept that there's someone else stepping into these shoes. And they're very big shoes to fill. These, I mean, films have a huge following, and I would not want to step into those shoes and try and impress and try and showcase a whole new Freddy to the fans, because they were just not having it. I thought this film was shot very artistically. Some of the scenes, the camera, whoever was filming whoever was filming it, whoever shot it, whoever was behind the camera, they deserve, you know, their own award for this film, because they did such an amazing job filming this. There's just so many like cool scenes in this. And I thought there was a really cool scene where Nancy, one of the main characters, she's having these like hallucinations to where she's falling asleep, but she's been up so long that she's having these like waking nightmares, I guess you could call them. They're like these little nano dreams that are crossing over into the real world. It's like she's asleep while she's awake, because she's been up so long, her brain is slowly starting to make her go into this dream world. And they show Freddy Krueger chasing her through this store, and the way Freddy Krueger is phasing in and out of this scene was so brilliantly done. And it just, how you could see the aisles like transforming into the boiler room was just beautifully done. It was so amazing. I thought the film was very predictable at points. You kind of knew who was gonna die, but honestly, if you go back and rewatch a lot of the original Freddy Krueger movies, they're all like that. everybody said that about this film, like, oh, this movie was so predictable, but was Robert Englund's not? I mean, look back at them. They really, truly are predictable. I mean, everybody watches those. And I am a huge Freddy Krueger fan, and I'm going to step out and say this. I don't think that Freddy Krueger films are A, horror movies per se. I think they're more B movies. You know, that's why they're kind of comical. They kind of have that humor to it. It's not like taking itself super serious. It's more of a B-rated movie instead of an A movie. It's not one of those top tier movies. It's something you can laugh at. You can predict what's going to happen, like, oh, that bitch is going to die, and sure enough, she dies. It's no different. This movie is no different. The only thing I could say that this movie is different is it brings the darker feel that I've been talking about. It brings that just violent, gritty Freddy Krueger that we've never seen before. And I think it's about time we see some of our classic horror movie slashers out there get a whole new like take. It's just something new. It's good to see something new for a change. And honestly, looking back at this film, I don't think it got enough credit. There's so many things in this movie that just made it such a brilliant film. And I will argue with anyone that this movie is great. I mean, if you really break it down and look at it, you know, not comparing it to any other Freddy movies, just look at it as a standalone Freddy Krueger movie. Don't even pay attention to anyone that's ever been shot before this. Just look at this film for what it is. It's beautifully shot, has a great sound to it. The music is, the score for this just goes along with this picture so perfect that, like, to me, it was a great movie. I honestly would give this 5 stars. That's how bold of a statement this is. I'm giving it all stars. It was such a great remake. It's very underrated. I believe that one day people could look back at this, and if they gave it an honest review, you know, it could be a cult following. It could be a great film. It'll probably never get that recognition, but it deserves that recognition. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to give it the recognition that it deserves. That's why I'm making this video. I want people to watch this and maybe go back and rewatch this film and give it a second chance and just wipe the slate clean. Don't worry about who played Freddy before. Don't worry about any of the other films. Don't compare this to anything. Just look at this as a horror movie, a standalone movie on its own, and rewatch it. Give it another chance. It'll grow on you. I promise you. If you just look at it that way, this was an amazing film, and it did not get the credit that it deserved. And if you guys disagree, leave in the comments what you didn't like about the movie. I want to see some of your views on this and what it was that you didn't like it. Or if you did like it, let me know what it was that drew you into this movie. What was it that made you fall in love and say, damn, that was a pretty good movie. I liked that movie. But I'm gonna end this video here. I just wanted to say this is a great film, and if you haven't seen it, go out and watch it. This is Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, and it's a remake of the originals, and I just think it was so well done. See you guys in the next video. Peace.